Hello, welcome to practice. We're going to begin laying down today and we'll take a support. Let's see, we're going to make a long, thin support, a bolster shape. And when you sit down, put your bolster under your whole spine. So one end is near to your sacrum and then laying the whole spine. Because it's narrow, it lets the rib cage open out a little bit more. And then we'll bring the soles of the feet together and knees out wide into Baddha Konasana. If for some reason that feels too strong to start your practice, then just do neutral leg, hip width parallel. Finding the flow of your breath and how your body feels in this posture. Notice where there may be some tension, or notice the feeling of relaxing, letting go of tension. And then bringing the legs back up and rolling off to your side so you can take your support out from underneath you. And laying your back on the flat of the floor. And this time legs in neutral position with parallel and bent. Tuning in again to the flow of the breath. And notice laying on the floor any residual feeling in your body from using the support. So a different kind of support now. We're going to pick up the left foot and put the heel on the right knee. Legs are going to go over to the right side using that muscular awareness or core awareness. Just drop your legs down and keep your left shoulder blade on the floor and look over the left arm. Take a few breaths here. Again, feeling the support of the pose and the challenge. See if it becomes a little more difficult to breathe as we bring the diaphragm into that stranger shape. but even so, finding the flow of breath. Good. And then core awareness as you lift your leg, feel the strength so that you lift with a healthy spine. Good. Feet back, hip width, right heel, left knee, and legs go to the left side now. Right shoulder blade stays down and you're looking right. Feeling the inherent challenge of the pose, the diaphragm's being drawn out laterally to the side, a little bit of a twist, so it's harder to draw a deep breath. Nevertheless, feel the flow of your breath. Beautiful. And back up to center. Good. We're going to take the feet off the floor, knees together. Push your feet out a little, just a little, from center and press your lower back into the floor. Good. We'll take the arms up from the shoulders. So we've really got the front core of the body engaged. And we'll do opposite limbs. And you don't have to go very far from center to feel that the core of the body is working. Come back to your starting position. Opposite limbs, reaching out from center. So if it's right leg, left arm, left leg, right arm. Keep really pressing your back into the floor. Whoa. Nice. Hug your knees into your chest and rocking a little from side to side. Put the feet back down. We're going to take the arms overhead now. Give your arms a big stretch. So if you hold on to your thumb, you can even stretch a little bit more. And then hold on to your other thumb. Good. And then lay the back of your hands down towards the floor. If your shoulders are very tight here, you can put your hands up onto a pillow or a blanket. The arms are roughly parallel, arms up. I'm going to take some deep breaths here. And you might feel the difference of this symmetrical posture for the diaphragm, the easier sensation of breathing. So breathe deeply. Tune in to the ribs moving, the diaphragm moving. Diaphragm is the sling of muscle at the base of your ribs. When you breathe in, it is pushed into or pushes into the belly cavity. When you breathe out, it retracts into the lung cavity. Face relax, throat relax, neck relax. Now, as your arms get used to being in this position, letting go of any tension you can around your neck and your throat, shoulders, arms. Good. Bring the elbows and the backs of the hand still on the floor or as close as you can to the floor into a cactus position. So that elbows straight out from your shoulders and backs of the hands facing the floor. Good. And again, letting the shoulders relax. Notice any tension associated with that movement. Maybe the tension is in your back. Good. And then back up to straight. Try to keep your elbows and your back of the hands knee to the floor. Back down into cactus arm. Good. Pick your feet up off the floor and put the soles of the feet together into Baddha Konasana and press your lower back. Good. And we're going to pick up the right elbow and the right shoulder blade, and don't reach the elbow all the way to the left knee, but just in that direction. Try to keep your cactus arm shape in the top of your body. So just lifting up a little. Good. And then laying back down to the floor. And then picking up your left elbow and your left shoulder blade and just heading slightly in the direction of your right knee. Nice. And back to the floor. All right, now we're going to keep doing that from side to side, but try to keep your neck relaxed, which is a tall order. So follow your breath, just heading the right elbow towards the left knee a little. You're picking as many ribs up off the floor as you can manage without straining your neck. Try to use the core of your body, and it'll be more the upper front core. So it'll be closer to the ribs than it will feel like it's closer to the lower belly. Good. And last one. Okay. And hug your knees in. And just rocking a little bit from side to side. Nice work. We're going to come up to sitting. Take your right leg out wide, your left knee out wide, but bend your left leg. And we're going to walk the hands out in front from side to side. Keep the sit bones pressing as evenly as you can onto the floor. Just side to side. Good. And then come back to center and put your hands behind you. Good. We're going to turn to the left side, right hand onto the left knee, turning the ribs, drawing the shoulder blades down. Good. And then releasing, relaxing that side and swapping sides. So right leg bends in, left leg out straight. Put your hands in front of you, and we're just walking the hands along the edge of the mat, really. So side to side and experiencing that resistance, especially in this straight leg. That's where I get it more. Some people are going to feel it more in the bent leg, and it depends on how your knees are feeling. Good, side to side. Nice long spine. Good. Take the hands behind you and lengthen your spine. And then we'll turn to the right side. The left hand onto the right leg and lifting the spine and turning. Breathing deeply. Good. And then back to center. Bring the soles of the feet together and holding on where it makes sense, the knees or the ankles, and lifting the spine. And I realize we're not up on a blanket. It's more difficult to do these movements. You might feel like you're leaning back, but lifting the spine. Breathing. And then putting the soles of the feet flat onto the floor and press down onto your hands, lift your bottom and ease your sit bones further forward, as far forward as you can towards your heels. where your knees are comfortable. Good. And then walk your torso as far forward as everything allows. Your hips. Good. And then lift your bottom weight off the floor a little. So pressing down into the heels. Beautiful. All right. And then we're going to come up to standing. So you might release and help yourself to get up. But you could try a little bit of momentum and imagine rolling forward. And even if you don't, possibly lift up. Imagine it for a moment. If you cross your feet at your ankles, you might find that you can stand up. So just playing. So when we're not sitting up on the blanket, of course, it's more difficult to do. Tadasana. Urdhva Hastasana, arms up. So let's hold this for a moment. Take the shoulder blades down, lift the front of the legs, the front of the hips. Turn the palms forward and make the cactus arm position again. Now, that's elbows back, backs of the hands back, as far as you can. And it should feel like a pretty strong movement in the shoulders, even the upper arms. But just check you're not compressing your lower back or sticking the belly forward. So keep the tailbone reaching down. Good. Arms back up and hold your elbows and lengthen the sides of the waist. And we're going to come halfway into a forward bend so that your legs start to stretch and reach the elbows out from the hips. So the sides of the waist start to lengthen. Good. And then start to sway from side to side. Exploring where the legs might feel a little bit tight, how this feels in your back, keeping a healthy spine. So using your core support. Nice work. And then we're going to roll up, elbows up, arms up, cactus arm. Ah, nice. Take the arms behind you this time, interlock your fingers. Halfway forward bend. Feeling the healthy, supported spine. Feet are hip width and parallel, so the legs are parallel. Good. Start to lift your knuckles away from your back. Lift the knuckles as high as you can and reach them back towards the wall behind you. So the sides of your neck are lengthening. And the top of your head is reaching forward or hanging down, whichever feels better for your back. Breathing deeply. Mm. Mm. Good. And then releasing and bend your knees. Bring the arms all the way up, arms facing forward. Cactus arms, reach the elbows back, backs of the hands back. Take the hands back behind you and interlock the fingers the other way. So other index finger on top. Good. Halfway forward bend, Uttanasana. Just to where your back can remain easeful. You're getting a leg stretch. Ooh, and then reach the knuckles back towards the wall behind you and lift them up towards the ceiling. Try to lengthen the sides of the neck. Mm. Good. And then releasing and coming up. Good. Arms all the way up. And then cactus arms, elbows back, backs of the hands back. Lifting the front of the body, long in the lower back. Good. Now, this time we're going to come into Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Take your hands down onto the floor. and reach them as far forward as you can, but keep your sit bones lined up over your heels. Line up your ears with your upper arms. Good. And then we're just going to walk the hands around to the left side, but keep the front of the hips fairly level to the front of the mat. So don't spin the right hip with your arms. So the right hip's reaching back, arms are reaching as far as they can to the left. Back to the center. And reaching over to the right side. Left hip is reaching back. And right arms, the arms are reaching to the right. And back to center. Good. And then bend your knees and roll. Arms up. Nice work. Now, we're going to be balancing. If you'd like to have your chair at the front of the mat to put your hands on, then that's an option. Come to the front of the mat, Tadasana, Urdhva Hastasana. Bring the hands behind you and you're going to hold wrists, elbows, or even prayer position. Step your left foot back. Now, if your balance warrants that you need to hold on to something, don't link your arm, of course, and you're going to bring your hands to the seat of your chair or the floor. Okay, we've got a distance from front to back where the left heel, the back heel, is on the floor. So you can feel the surface of your feet on the floor. And just wiggle around your feet without really moving them from the floor so that you can feel their agility. Beautiful. Lift the breastbone, looking up. We're going to reach the breastbone forward. Feel the movement of the ribs as you breathe. As you reach forward and start to encounter that big resistance, bend your front knee so you can reach further forward. Good. So feeling the breath, the movement of the diaphragm, movement of the lung. See if you can straighten your front leg. Maybe not all the way straight, but encountering your resistance. Appreciating it. Lift the breastbone, lift your face, look forward. Good. We're going to release the hands as we lift up and step forward and bring the arms in front of the heart, or the hands in front of the heart. Balance on your right foot, left foot forward. You can lift your toes off the floor if that feels doable. You can hold your knee or hold your foot. Finding your balance. Flow of the breath. Good, and then releasing that side. Tadasana. Urdhva Hastasana. Arms behind again. Hold the wrists, elbows, upper arms, or prayer position. Right foot step back. Get a little bit of movement in your feet. I'm just wiggling my ankles from side to side, understanding that my feet move, are agile, responsive. Good, strong legs. Lift the belly, lift the breastbone, and looking up. Nice. And then start to forward bend. And as you reach your torso forward, feel the expanse of the ribs with each breath. Feel the breath as you start to encounter your resistance. Bend the front knee so you can reach the torso further. Feel the expanse of the breath. Hmm. And as you understand your balance and your breath, start to straighten your front leg. Mm. Mm. We're going to release hands, step forward, balance on the left leg. Bring the right foot forward, bring the hands in front of your heart. You might have your right tiptoes on the floor. You might be lifting that leg nice and high, even holding your knee, your right knee or your right foot. Finding your balance. Finding spaciousness, length in the spine, the lateral movement of the ribs. Good. And then releasing that side. Urdhva Hastasana, Uttanasana. Pad your feet, so get them moving to the back of your mat. Little steps, like a jaguar, padding along the bough of a tree. Ah, get the feet moving, every little part of the feet, until you take your feet back into downward facing dog pose. They're about hip width parallel. Hands are shoulder width. And feeling with each breath the capacity of the lungs, the movement of the ribs, the lengthening of your spine here as the weight of the head is making extra length if you make your shoulders wide enough. Feeling the flow. Pressing the heels down, the kneecaps lift, the quadriceps lift, the sit bones lift. Beautiful. Good. And patting your feet forward. Good. We're going to take the heels out wider than the hips. Turn the toes out, not standing. Squat down where your knees allow you to, where your heels stay onto the floor. Go as far as feels good in your body. Good. And then press your heels down and lift up. Okay, now we're going to do that again. The heels, where we've got the feet, is the easiest on the knees. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, bring the heels in closer. Still try with the toes turning out so they go in the same direction that your knees go when you squat down. So try your little squat or big squat. Do what feels best for your knees. Bring the sit bones as close to the heels as you can, but keep your heels on the floor. So lift up if your heels lift up. Good. And then we'll press the heels and we'll lift up. Good. And if you want to keep challenging, you probably find you can't reach down as far. We'll do parallel feet. You're going to let your knees out. Good. And squatting again. Heels stay on the floor. So don't go further where the heels lift up. And then lifting the pelvic floor, pressing the heels and lifting up. Great. Now we're going to try and sit down without using the hands, but you're going to use your hands, of course, if you need to. I'm going to try from here with the parallel feet. And when I get to the squatting position, I am going to use my hands and I'm just going to wiggle my feet about. So I'm going to sit right up onto the balls of the feet. And then I'm going to try and get the heels down, lifting up again, feeling that feet are nice and mobile, even knees forward and back, and then trying to sit without falling. I wonder how it all went. I hope it was okay. Now I'm going to make the highest support I can. And if you were in class on Wednesday, we used a block, which I'm not using today. We're trying different things to learn much. But I am going to make a blanket and sit bones up onto that thick blanket. Come into your squat position where the weight is on your hip bones, not your feet. And you can hold your knees and really lift the spine. Imagine if we could squat with the spine supported. So just using that process of imagination, try and bring your body weight forward so you can feel more weight in your feet. Lift the pelvic floor, the front core, and really imagine that you were squatting. Heels flat on the floor, spine lifting, even press your feet down into the floor. Beautiful way to practice squatting without it being too much pressure on your knee. Good. Now, if you really have got some weight in your feet and you want to try that hovering forward and back, just see how you go lifting. And maybe you can, for a moment, hover, sit carefully back onto your blanket. And maybe if you're hovering, you can lift up from there and sit back down without falling. Nice soft landing. Alrighty. I'm going to put my blanket back down to just a little seat size. Little circles now with the diaphragm. So that cross section of the rib diaphragm attaches. And as you move, try and bring the diaphragm in the same plane as the floor. And also reach your ribs. When you're reaching back, it's the back ribs. When you're reaching left, it's the left ribs. When you're reaching forward, the front ribs to the horizon. So keeping the diaphragm level to the floor, but reaching the ribs to the horizon. Back to center, and then we'll go in the opposite direction. You could do this with a focus on any part of the spine. I'm thinking about the ribs and how they move with the breath. The feeling of the diaphragm, where it feels compromised, it's more difficult to take a breath. But nevertheless, we can take a breath. Focus on that breath. Center. Beautiful. And we're going to lay down now. Or let's do something really nice, which is take your blanket and we'll put that under the feet. So we'll come back into Baddha Konasana, where we began our practice with the soles of the feet together and the knees out wide. Now I've got my feet up on the blanket. A little bit stronger in the hips, and if you find that it's too strong, you can take the blanket out. Let's keep the shoulder blade moving towards the back waist, so the sides of your neck along. Mm. Feeling the flow of the breath, the movement of your ribs and diaphragm with the breath. Nice work. Now we're going to move the blanket out of the way. Bring your legs back up. Take your arms out from your shoulders. Inside edges of the feet together, knees together. Left thigh over the right thigh. Lift your hips. They go left, and then the legs are going to go right. So you want to let your legs lay down heavily, and that'll stretch where there is resistance in your body. So keep your left shoulder blade down and look left. Just making sure that feels okay with your back. You can always move your knees further down if that feels better, or closer to your arms if that feels better. Finding your best position. So these twists really, they shift where the diaphragm is normally operating. So we've twisted the rib cage. The diaphragm is twisted, kind of like squeezing out a cloth, a wet cloth. So there's a different way for the breath. The body adapts. Finds workaround. And let yourself just give in. Good. We're going to really focus on the core of the body to lift the leg. Come back to center. Right thigh over the left thigh. Hips lift and they go right. And the knees go left. And again, you can modify this by where you put your knees in relation to your arms. Okay? Make sure you've got a good position for your back. You could always put a blanket under your knees if too extreme a movement. Facing over your right arm. And just noticing that compromised position for the diaphragm. And how the flow of the breath still happens. Albeit different. Like relax. Beautiful. Use your core awareness to bring the legs back up to center. And as the the diaphragm unfurls, feel that lovely breath capacity. Hug your knees into your chest and rocking a little bit from side to side. in your day. See if you can tune in at some stage to your ribs, your diaphragm, and the beautiful movement there of your breath. Mm. If, like me, you need to finish your practice, we're going to roll over to the right side. And then coming up to sitting. Namaste.